The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi, welcome to the Political Dice.
Empishi ebyobufuzi.
It's controversial,
Purely political,
well researched,
accurate and global.
Oyagala bya parliament oba council.
Bya state house oba ghetto.
Ani ayuga ku ground.
Ani gwe babuze.
Okimanyi nga Dr. Kiza Besigye aleese amaanyi.
Olwofadda bafutsoli abateesemu obuvaazi.
Oba yo DP eri kuki?
Olwojema.
Bano ba MKCG bo baddawa.
Abo bafuna CDF bambala tebabanja. Olwo baba ate bange bali kuki?
Abo bo akina kulabisa simayanga posturing tebabiri bali mu structure building. Naye ate ono ye.
Ani oyo ba?
Ye ali kuki?
Oyo tumuleketa gamwanyiga mawu.
Ebe ndabena birindira nokuda Political Dice ku the Alternative Dig Talk nange teditenjo ewamune.
Farida bikobere
Buli wa Sunday
sawa biri.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes, it can. Although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and a warm welcome to the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Matthew Karohanga. It's the 17th day of June 2024. We are halfway into the year, and of course a lot of things are happening in the country and across the globe. Here in Uganda, it's not only raining too much across the country, which is a very good thing, but we're also having a lot of stories that are going on. Evictions in the Lubigi swamp continue, or in that particular wetland. Many people have lost their houses. They've been evicted from this particular area. As we speak today, some of them have promised to sue our government, saying that they have been illegally evicted from these particular areas. Now, the eviction started last month. That was on the 27th of May 2024, and for close to 3 weeks now, we have been having various evictions from that part of Uganda. So Lubigi is a swamp, and and government believes that many people are settling here illegally, though many of the residents in this area are querying the government over these particular disturbances. They say they bought the land legally, they got the permits for construction legally, but up to today they are evicting them in what they call a fraudulent manner. But government is still steadfast on this particular campaign, and they believe, of course with conjunction with NEMA, that this will help in avoiding or fighting the problem of climate change, and of course advocating for the reclamation of swamps at the end of the day. The three legislators who are in court as we speak, trying to solve the challenge of the cases that were raised against them, that is budget corruption. We have three members of parliament. Up to now, bail has been denied from them, and they say that they are going to be passed on to the High Court that is going to be trying them for these particular cases. Now, this comes at a time when President Museveni promised to show Ugandans some of the people who have been corrupt, especially in the parliament, saying that they're inflating budgets so that they can get a kickback at the end of the day. This is not the very first time that we've heard of such stories. I remember in 2021, a member from the National Unity Platform, that was General Bigirwa Moses, came out to talk about this issue and said that there is a problem in the August House. Many people are having kickbacks, and at that time, everybody really did not believe what he was saying. But I think as time continues to unfold, we are seeing legislators behind the dock. There was a list that was going on and was circulated on social media saying some of the members on that list were summoned by CID, which was inaccurate according to the spokesperson of the police, that is Mr. Fred Enanga. It is inaccurate that all these members of parliament were summoned by the CID. That is, I think, it, but we still have more news that is going on in the country. Errant VIP drivers have been cautioned by the commander of the UPDF, that is General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. He says that they're going to start off arresting, first of all, the drivers who are driving military cars in a reckless manner, driving on pavements, and this is something that has been happening over time in the country. Is it time that we can celebrate and commemorate the decision of the commander of the UPDF? Is it timely? Is it something that is feasible? How far will it go? Let's wait and see how that pattern will continue. And maybe lastly, the confusion, for lack of a better word, in Buganda continues to unravel. We saw President Museveni meeting some of the Bataka, what you may call clan leaders, at State House Entebbe. Some of them got some money, and of course a package from the president. I think around each individual got around $3,000. That's approximately 11 million, of course, in support. And President Museveni promised to construct a building for them as the Bataka, something that has created a lot of controversy in Buganda's subject. And of course, many people are saying there is a bit of a disunity or a division between the Bataka. Is this something that President Museveni knows the implications, what he's doing? Is he undermining the Kabaka at a time when the Kabaka has actually been in the news by Buganda, saying that they are not seeing him at the time such as this one? So there's a lot of confusion happening there, and many people believe that President Museveni is bringing about a rift in Buganda. Is this what is happening in the country? We shall be talking about that and much more. And of course, the topical discussion of the day is the budget. How feasible is this particular budget? 72 trillion shillings, having the original budget being at 58 trillion. Towards the tabling of the budget in Parliament, we had an influx of 72 trillion. So where did the rest of the trillion come from? Who advocated for this money? And the question is, where are Ugandans going to get this money? Because as we speak, an approximation of 31 trillion will be got domestically, but the rest of the money is going to be outsourced by government. At a time where the debts are choking Uganda, we are at 97 trillion as we speak. That's a lot of debt burden for the country. Now we ask ourselves, where are we going to get this particular money? How does it add into our planning as a country? And of course, as you, the taxpayer, the last man who is mandated to pay the tax, how is this tax burden going to be on you? Is it something that you can be able to fight? Is it something that is unable to be got? Or the question is this money doing what it's supposed to do? Because yes, we are paying the taxes, but is there value for taxes? We are getting the loans. Are there value for the loans that we are getting? That is going to be the main topic of discussion today. My name is Edgar Matthew Karohanga. I've been joined by our two panelists. They're always here every particular Monday evening to have a conversation with Uganda so that we can create a world that is better and of course a better country for us and the generations to come. I'll start with Mr. Charles Kazooba. He is the Executive Director for the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. That is Charles Kazooba. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Matthew.
Of course. You're going to just give us your opening remarks, but I've also been joined by Honorable Retired Major Pollar Awich. He is the Director for the External Affairs at the National Resistance Movement. The country that has been at the helm of Uganda, a government that has been at the helm and a political party that has been at the helm of Uganda for the last 38 years. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, and greetings from the mighty NRM.
Indeed, it's mighty. 38 years in power is not something you undermine. I'll start with you, Charles. Charles, please, in your opening remarks to the viewers, tell us what stood out for you in this particular week.
I'm impressed by the arrest of the legislators implicated in various corruption scandals. I think this is the way to go. Of course, the country demands much more than what we are seeing.
Yes.
But when I tried to look through this matter, I realized that President Museveni was in a very huge dilemma.
Okay.
You go full blast against these culprits without evaluating the likely consequences. You can end up being removed from power.
But you have always wanted him to fight corruption.
That is what I'm saying. But
and now?
I also don't want an unstable country. I don't want our country to end up like Sudan, South Sudan, Egypt, Libya. No.
Okay.
We have to move cautiously. And that is exactly what I'm saying. You imagine if it was the speaker in the coolers today, what would have been the likely consequences?
Nothing.
He has told you. Nothing.
You understand? Nothing. Because it's not that somebody is just stealing as an individual. The network is huge. The network is big, and in every sector, in every office, they work together. They're in the police, they're in security, they're in judiciary, they are everywhere. So you have to be careful how you deal with this corruption. But so far, I think it is the right progress. At least we are seeing some action. But like I've told you, you don't go full blast. You go full blast, you might likely enter into a very dangerous zone.
So you agree with Museveni what he said that they should be given amnesty?
No.
So how cautious would you want him to approach such a matter?
Let me tell you, I was in Parliament for more than 10 years as an observer. I know what takes place there. And the president knows that. I can tell you that more than 70 of those legislators have participated in corrupt scandals. More than 70%. So would you just close parliament? Of course you wouldn't. We know there is a lot of money that changes hands within the parliament. So there's a lot of corruption. It is rotten. And partly because of the design that these people independently determine their emoluments. That they kind of try to be independent from the central executive. That becomes problematic. There are legislators who would hide in the parliament canteen, fearing arrest just outside at the gate by money lenders.
We've heard of such cases.
So, even the impunity, I don't know why the British system thinks that impunity helps in the independent legislation. But that aspect must be taken away, because we are dealing with criminals hiding under law. You get it?
You're meaning the sanctity of parliament.
Yes. So the design of the parliamentary system is also faulty. If you want to bring these people to a book, if they have to account for their actions, there are certain privileges that have to be taken away. Because you are serving your population, you're serving your people.
Okay.
You understand? So,
and I think that's why they gave them the privileges, so that they won't be corrupted.
But
or
I have not seen these people take advantage of those privileges to serve Ugandans. They abuse those privileges. I've told you, so many of those lawmakers hide under impunity. You get it?
Yes, I hear you.
I think even the president, his hands must be tied. How do you go for a hell lot of them? I can tell you, out of those 500, we have so many criminals hiding in there. So many. But now, how do you do it?
Okay, is this the big...
Because you can end up having a bigger problem than you create a bigger problem than what you had anticipated.
So do you want
us
that
is
to
why
massage them, to condone?
It's not massaging. You approach the problem cautiously, because one, your government can collapse, but also two, which is more important, you can cause instability in the country. You have to be cautious. I saw the president say that he had gotten a proof now.
Yes.
I really don't think so, because my honest belief is that there is intelligence in each and every government office. So it is not true that the president did not know of what is happening. If we ordinary people know a lot, yet we don't have that access to classified information, what about the president? So he knows.
Maybe the evidence was the one that was lacking.
But how to handle the problem is, I think, what has been problematic on his side.
But he has only handled only 3 of the 529. So one would say that is a cautious move.
When you say 3, I don't understand you, because the speaker, the sanctions against the speaker, those are an indictment on her. So it is even worse than an arrest. They are tackling her livelihood.
Yeah, but one would say that is the global audience. But Mr. Museveni
yes,
has
but it is even, you see, when you are facing prosecution, you are lucky that you can go in a court and challenge the prosecution evidence and witnesses in a court. However, for the speaker now, for her, I think she's already convicted. The sanctions against her is a conviction. You understand?
Okay.
So a lot more is going to be witnessed in the little time that is coming, but the signal is okay. The signal to the population is that you guys should not keep claiming that you are untouchable. The law can touch you.
And this brings me to the next question. Is this the big fish? Is this the big fish you've always talked about here? That you want big fish. President Museveni has not always gone for the big fish. Can we call this big fish?
Me, I'm very sure the network is shaken. The network is shaken. Let me tell you, if it is true that these three individuals sat and convinced a government agency that they should partake of the budget, national budget,
Yes.
do you really think they were working alone?
Now that's a question our viewer is going to answer. Let me come to Honorable Awich. You're welcome, sir. In your opening remarks, what stood out for you before I ask you about the conviction of these, in fact not conviction, the arrest of these legislators?
The arrest last week? Was it the other week?
Yeah, it was last week.
Monday to Sunday?
Sorry? Monday to Sunday?
It was Monday, I think.
I think it was, they summoned them on Sunday, then they went on Monday to CID. So after that, that's when they were arrested.
So it was an incident of last week?
Yes, sir.
That was the other week. Okay, fine. Of course, that stood out. It was worth news piece and the value there too, which I think you said we shall discuss later. But it also interested me. First of all, to uncover the gravity, the depth of corruption, that it is done almost in a semi-official way by the legislator. Because you are asking a whole ministry, you know, Human Rights Commission. Is a
whole government entity.
It's a government entity like a ministry with a permanent secretary.
Yes.
So it's like going to ask Minister of Land 20% or Minister of Internal Affairs or Minister of Foreign Affairs. It's actually asking a ministry because the Human Rights Commission is a ministry of its own with a permanent secretary. It is so shameful.
You would be right to say that because the president said in plural that there are people requesting ministries to give kickbacks. So it's not about the Human Rights Commission alone.
Yes,
there are various
I'm talking of this
ministries.
I'm talking of this as an incident, as an act which did occur. The rest that is not yet found out is maybe we shall discuss later. Also, I imagine the network. Maybe I will not get time, but the network is that in the Ministry of Finance, ministries are clustered. Like you have local government, public service, whatever, clustered under one officer. Who handles that? Budget, everything. Even if you are to requisition, if a PS was to requisition fund to be used, it will still go to this desk officer to check in the vote line this money is there or not. So they basically run those ministries, and the PS is more or less a figurehead. Now these are the people, it is believed they connive with legislators. Even the same thing, unfortunately, in Parliament also ministries are clustered. Like the particular case of these human rights people, this is a committee on legal affairs. So legal affairs will be under the Electoral Commission, Human Rights Commission, Ministry of Justice, you know, those areas of legal. They cluster them together under Committee on Legal Affairs. So it is very easy for this to link up with the person at the ministry. And we are putting 20 billion or 100 billion here. Then they put it, they defend it all along in the parliament, but they have already told the other PS if it's not the type of Wangadia who stood our ground.
Yes.
So that is what the president meant by Minister of Finance and the rest, and that is so unfortunate because that would be total hemorrhage.
Yeah.
So I think the investigation is ongoing, and we wait what comes up. So that was what really stood out for my week. But the other thing which stood out for my week also is that those of us who believe that the government may not have enough resources, the resource envelope may not be big enough to help a school. I don't know which school you went to. We believe that you, through your associations, you should pull out something and help the school while you expect the government to do something. So for that, over the weekend, we were in Umbara, in a Tari school, where the old boys converged, and we had the election. And I was happy to have been the chairman of the Electoral Commission. We held a free and fair election. Remember, we insist on the fairness because it is never perfect. Of course, there are people who are complaining. But it was so good being back home in Intare. We were there on Friday. We had Kasiki. We enjoyed with the old boys, old and young, doctors and lawyers, engineers, whatever it is, you find it there. And really being old boys. We were putting on shirts with our school badge. We behaved like students, really. We were all, even at night, we went to disco with our school badge.
Wow.
So it was good. So it was kind of a sense of relief, a stress releaser, but also with a value impact that the resource envelope for the government not be enough. So all boys have an avenue. So that was my week.
That's good. That's good.
I saw on. Did Robert contest against you?
Which Robert?
Robert Atoye.
No, me, I was chairman Electoral Commission.
Ah.
I was
He
chairman.
was standing for chairman, I think.
Yes, he had vied for it, but he wasn't nominated.
Okay.
He wasn't nominated, but he was there, he participated.
That's okay.
So that was my week.
Great. Let me bring you back to the issue of the legislators that were arrested. Is this what we can say that a win from Mr. Museveni? Is he now tackling corruption? Can we say he's now serious at fighting corruption? Because many of Ugandans have always thought that your leader is really not serious when it comes to fighting corruption in this country. Does this absolve him?
Yeah, in particular the leaders who were arrested, the 3 members of parliament, 2 gentlemen and a lady, belong to the Committee on Legal Affairs. And the brief facts is that they called the Human Rights Commission chair in Hotel Africana and asked for, it's alleged that they asked for 20%.
Yes.
And then that we can increase you the budget, and then when we increase it, please give us 20%, we shall defend the budget if you get it. And the section under which they are charged, Anti-Corruption Act, the section does not actually say that you must get the money. Asking is enough. So all that the prosecution have to produce is that you ask. And this could now lead. Well, we are really, I hope we are not discussing matters in court, but for public consumption to say that. So the section just, and the ingredient of the offense is that you ask. It's immaterial that you have not yet got. It is immaterial that you have not yet got what you ask.
Okay.
So the ingredient is that. So I think if you connect the arrest plus what President Museveni says, therefore you will see that the DPP, who acts on behalf of the state, although the DPP constitutionally is independent, but by far the DPP is part of the executive. And even if DPP, if the state, for example, which the executive was not interested in prosecuting, it has all the link and the working out with the DPP. So the DPP, in other words, the constitution puts it independent, but we all know that the idea is that the DPP wants what the executive wants.
Exactly.
It's a theoretical separation of power. Therefore, it's true that the president has acted, and some of us thought that he should have acted long ago, and it is a right step in the right direction. I would like to say, contrary to what my friend said, is that the president or government fears that if you come full blast on the corrupt, the government may fall.
And that's a very big theory. Where
Far
many people
from
believe
it. Far
These
far
are your
from
pillars.
It.
So
Far from it. Come on, we have taken much harsher decisions that would make this government fall than arresting thieves. We have taken, I don't even know, I wish I could count you decisions which have been taken which are much harsher. And by the way, note that the 38 years or so that you have taken, we have built a state, a strong state that guarantees the strength of a state, a government, or a state as a country. And that's why you see that in all corners of Uganda, the court system are working. You have seen countries here where some part of the country there is no state. You have seen countries here where schools are closed because of criminals.
Yes.
Not in Uganda. So no fear that a group of corrupt can overthrow. How? They will tell a brigade that because we corrupt, we have been arrested. You brigade go and announce on the radio? What?
But
will they command a division of the army? What?
And that brings me to that perception.
Nothing.
Why do you always think that government is around arms? Around security?
Because if you say you're overthrowing, you can overthrow a government by two ways. Either through a ballot paper that you don't vote it, in which case you have overthrown it by voting, or you're going to overthrow by force of arms. Which other way?
Not all governments.
You're going to go to church and overthrow them in church? We pray that you leave State House? What else? If not by ballot, then by what? By church, prayers. So, it is either by election you vote it out or you use force. And I do not see where the corrupt will garner force to overthrow a government.
Even the righteous ones cannot even garner force.
Huh?
They cannot. I think the dispensations have changed now.
So I like to assure our viewers that we have enough capacity of a state, in the real sense of a state, in a constitutional order. Long gone, in the past it would just be a matter of walking to Radio Uganda and announcing, and the government has fallen.
A group of
it's not now.
These days,
so I can't. I wish my colleague could lift the veil and explain the practical steps that the corrupt would say, you have touched us today, we are overthrowing the government. The government is collapsing. How?
Let me come to this issue. You saw how one of the legislators had gotten bail. After getting bail by a court, and you're a lawyer, you believe in the rule of law, this person was taken out, bundled into vehicles. Even up to today, we don't know his whereabouts. Doesn't this undermine what you call the rule of law at a time like this one, where you have championed democracy as a government, as NRM, but this is not the first time we are seeing these things happening.
So where is it now?
Where is the law? I also don't know.
Well, you see, what has been happening about arrest after the bail is about the concept of the bail itself. You see, people first of all mistake that a person has a right to bail. It is not true. People don't have a right to bail. People have a right to apply for a bail. You only have a right to apply for a bail. Now, if you have a right to apply, then it is the court to accept or not.
If it grants
now, that is one thing you should know. The second thing is that, and which makes the state rearrest, is that once somebody has got a bail, the state has no right to appeal against a bail. I repeat, for example, if a police officer or if somebody kills 30 people, and you know that he killed in broad daylight, and he got a bail, you can't appeal that the court should overturn the appeal. The bail. No, bail is non-appealable by the state. That is why now, when the state thinks it has had evidence on another matter, because they cannot appeal, they arrest you for something else. Am I talking to myself or I'm talking to you?
Is that what they call an arrest?
Yes.
Would you call what? And I request my producer to look for that video.
I know it.
Is
okay.
that arrest? You are a lawyer. Was that arresting?
Yes, arresting in this case. Maybe I'm not referring to this particular one. You are mixing the two. We are debating why the state would arrest after a bail in general terms. Now for you are taking me to the specific incident, what happened. If you want me to talk to the specific incident, I can talk to it. But me, I was still telling you. I am telling you this. Okay, let's leave the specific incident. Let's say this person had got bail and gone home and again arrested from home. So what I'm saying is states arrest after bail because states are denied right to appeal. Bail is non-appealable, is unappealable. So you can only arrest somebody if you say, surely Awich is walking away. Awich has killed 30 people. Now he has got a bail, so he's supposed to go. You reach home, you make arrest. No, you don't argue with court. You make for another or arrest for another offense. Yes, you arrest for another offense. You don't argue for court. Now, with court, now, for the specific incident, the method of arresting is what I haven't got the facts about and how it happened in court and in that manner. So I'm restrained from commenting from this particular incident. But I am just explaining to you as a general rule why state arrest after bail. One, bail is not a right. You only have a right to apply for a bail. A right to apply is different from a right to bail. Two, bail is non-appealable by the state. Once the court has granted, you know, ideally all matters you appeal up to Supreme Court. It is granted by court, you appeal to the next, 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 but not with a bail. Not with a bail.
So where do we leave the rule of law now? That's my question to you. Because what you're saying should be okay, that, okay, there's another charge, but you're not told that. In these scenarios, because it's not one, it has happened in the past. In these scenarios, men carrying guns, wielding guns, in layer, what you call non-uniforms, in private cars, bundling people and just taking them.
This is why I'm saying I'm restrained to discuss this particular case, because I have no facts about it. In many cases,
there are the Segirinyans, the Sewanyanas, we are arrested in the same manner.
You know, I can only discuss a matter that I'm conversant and I have the facts. It doesn't hurt for you to say, I don't have the facts on this. Mondays are never ending. If I get facts next Monday, I'll come and comment about it. But this one I don't know. But at least I've labored to explain to you circumstances that lead to arrest after a bail. Even if this person had gone home and was arrested from home, not in this particular circumstance. Because it is good for the viewers to know. One, nobody has a right to bail. Rather, people have right to apply. Two, state has no right to appeal against a bail. Even if somebody has killed 40 people and a bail is granted, the prosecution cannot stand up in court and say, my lord, I'm appealing against that bail. No, it is granted, it is granted. He walks away. That is why state has stressed to say, really, this man has killed 40 people and we let him to go, look for another charge. That is what prompts arrest after bail. But the particular arrest, with the circumstance in which it happened, I am a person who wants to discuss with facts. I will understand it. I'll comment about it next Monday if I have.
No problem. This is the hotline. We talk about everything and everything that is affecting this particular country. Charles, there is something that you wanted to respond to his particular submission. He says that, how practical is it when you say that the government can lose power because of a few legislators who have actually been corrupt?
Because of the corrupt, really.
Exactly.
Now let me put it in a picture that everybody can understand. If, for instance, you have a bottle of DNA, and that DNA forms NRM, and then corruption is within that DNA, so you want to remove it. When you remove it, remain with the same size. Now, corruption is within the DNA of NRM. And we don't even have to debate that, because that is a fact. How you deal with it after almost 40 years is the biggest challenge one can have. Because some people within the system are used corruption as normal business.
It's part of the system.
Now, when you wake up and tell them that, look, your conduct should change.
For right.
Today, and they've been conducting themselves differently for 40 years, most likely you're going to have trouble. So some people might refuse to change their conduct. What do you do to them? And some of those people could be people who are actually real cadres that sustain you in the government.
So one would say they are my thieves, if they are thieves.
This is what I'm saying. Do you sacrifice them? Do you wake up and sacrifice them all of a sudden?
President Museveni said, let me give you amnesty. The same legislators said, no, we want blood.
No.
And he's following
he wasn't he wasn't referring to these
now,
ones.
I see demonstrated to you how the corrupt will overthrow a government. Are you convinced?
Let him first finish.
Are you convinced? Let him tell you how they will overthrow. Before he comes in, let me put it this way.
Yes.
We have had army commanders like Kazin. We have had senior officers being charged in court who hold chiefs and big positions in the army for corruption.
That's true.
These were the ones who would tell us they would overthrow a government because they are charged of corruption. So who are these civilian, imagine a civilian corrupt who will overthrow a government?
Unlike,
please, illustrate to us how they will overthrow.
Unlike Major Awich, who is literally an idealist, me, I'm a realist.
You demonstrate the realist. You demonstrate it.
He is wiser than anybody in his government. And there is a reason why he has never gone full blast.
And that's true. President Museveni has been massaging.
If he woke up today to crush each and every corrupt official, I even know of a minister who carried soil from this country to go and put up a plantation.
My issue
abroad.
is how
he is part of his
my
cabinet.
issue is
And
to
inside
be
that.
no. He has been going slow, as he says, and he has his reasons. My question for now is how, if it did not go slow, how will this corrupt overthrow a government? Assuming it did, how would they overthrow? How would they?
An overhaul in one of the government arms can affect directly the head of state.
Listening to me.
That's why they ask.
I'm not talking of isolated cases. Because I have told you, corruption forms the DNA of NRM.
So literally everybody is
if
corrupt.
you removed that DNA
everybody would
and
go.
extracted the corruption within that DNA, automatically government collapses.
Everybody would go. And that's the question of the Mawati. They said, why wouldn't you just send away or arrest all
and
the
that is
ministers?
a good example.
And he had 3 to sacrifice for
the
all of them.
Mawati scandal almost had 40 to 50
Because it would be
culprits.
a government
Now,
overhaul.
would you begin arresting from the VP up to down?
Because
whom
of
would
them
you
because-
remain with?
Can I beg to understand this? That my colleague is making there are 2 different statements. He's saying if you tackle corruption, as he says, the government would fall. And is it different from that the corrupt would overthrow the government? There are 2 statements.
Yes, they should be different.
There are 2 statements. So you are now saying the corrupt cannot overthrow a government, but you are saying the government would fall.
I think what he's trying to claim.
No, you say the other one I didn't say.
Please.
Or I'm not saying that.
Listen to me.
You are not saying.
Lastly, as you finish that
and my
submission.
words are always very clear.
If it was clear, I wouldn't
The
be
2
asking.
cases are actually the same.
Overthrowing
the
and
corrupt
falling.
in this government can collapse government.
Okay.
And equally, if you removed that corruption within the DNA of NRM, it would get you the same result. So the 2 cases are actually the same. Let me give you an example.
As you conclude,
When President Felix Tshisekedi came into power, he came full blast to wipe out corruption in DRC. For his first term of office, they denied him control over government and even attempted to assassinate him.
yes, he has faced a couple of assassination attempts.
Why should it be? This is not a simple matter that you deal with in a day or a week, like he says. Corruption is big, especially when it comes to the magnitude of Uganda. That from the smallest office to the highest office in the State House, there is corruption.
So should we surrender?
Large-scale corruption.
So should we surrender?
I have told you here on this same platform that Museveni cannot wipe out corruption. He does not have the capacity to do it.
So we surrender.
But another system can do it.
Oh, okay.
Why?
Yeah.
Because President Museveni carries a certain baggage that he cannot offload off his shoulders and throw away. But another government, another system, will not have the same baggage.
Yeah, I get it.
So it is easy for another new group of people to deal with corruption than him.
Mr. Museveni himself.
But he can reduce, he can control, but he can't remove.
Has he sent a message through these arrests?
To the small people, yes. Small people, I mean cadres that don't have actual stake in the government. They are cadres who have real stake. He can't deal with them.
Okay, let's stop on there on this issue, and I want you to come still about President Museveni and come to the Buganda question. I don't know if you're hearing what is happening in Buganda, especially after Mr. Museveni invited the Bataka to State House, gave them some money, and this is the second time, by the way, procured land for them. He's going to build for them an office, but it has created a kind of rift, division. I want you to just sit in the mind of Mr. Museveni for the time you know him, or in this particular issue. What is the problem with Mr. Museveni meeting the Bataka of Buganda, or the clan leaders, and allocating them these things?
NRM support has been declining in Buganda.
Can I beg this?
Yes, sir.
That while my colleague discusses, him or you define for me who is a Mutaka or who are the Bataka,
Okay.
so that we're on the same page.
Bataka are the clan leaders of Buganda. So Buganda has various clans, and all of them
So
have
the clan leaders
who
are the
pick
ones,
the Kabaka.
including like one who was shot recently?
Yes, such of like examples.
Are
like
they
that.
the people like
So
who had the
clans of
Jovu
Buganda,
clan?
Yes.
The
some of
Monkey
them,
clan?
yes.
Those are the ones called
They're
Bataka.
called
Why
Bataka.
was I thinking like landowners? The
And
Taka, the
it's-
bit
yeah,
of
it's called
it,
the
the Bataka
land,
bit
that's
of
why
it.
they call them Bataka.
Yeah,
Because
that's
they
why I
have
wanted
land.
clarity, because when I heard Bataka, I thought you're actually talking of landowners.
Yeah, that's the
So,
division
but so for
there.
clarity, the Bataka are the heads of clan.
Yes.
The Jovu head,
They are
the
called
Lion
Bataka.
clan head.
So there is a division
Okay,
there.
fine. Now we can move.
There is a division. Some
Yeah, I just
are
wanted
different.
that definition and clarity.
NRM has been declining. Its support has been declining in Uganda for quite some time because of mainly land issues. Now, when you go to the results of 2021, you realize that those results were a huge threat to NRM. That loss was a big threat. Buganda has the capital of this country, but also it has people from all ethnic groups.
Yes,
Here.
all of us converge here.
Now, when you lose in such an area, it is not, you don't just dismiss the matter. You take measures, you lay strategies, how to regain support. You've seen the two ministers, Nabakov and Mayanja, tried to solve the land conflicts. But Mengo, as an institution, has had its own issues, which have to be catered for by the central government.
Yes, sir.
Of course, you know that for a long time, Mengo has advocated for semi-autonomous coexistence.
From the birth of Uganda, they have always advocated for that.
So they have their issues, but there are compromises which have been made between Museveni and the Kabaka. Now, this Bataka, you know, Mengo recently established a structure similar to the LOC system, up to village level actually. You have leaders of Uganda up to village level. Yes? Now that structure can be used for mobilization.
But Uganda has always been organized. Really.
No, I'm not saying Uganda.
In such a setting.
I'm giving you one scenario. I'm saying that structure can be taken advantage of. You understand?
Yes, I know what you're saying.
By a force that is opposing government.
I hear you.
Now, for Museveni to begin digging into the structures of Uganda, one, he attempts to neutralize any likely discontent within those structures to favor his government, but also to understand exactly what is happening. Because for him, it's real about the votes in 2026. So if he meets the leaders of these clans, and they wield a lot of influence within the Buganda system, so you don't just ignore it. However, is he creating a division? Of course, the president has thrived on division. Even though if you go to Major Awich's secretariat, NRM secretariat, they are spying on each other. Who is reporting the other to the president? That's how the President Museveni operates, and that's how he has succeeded.
So you mean by meeting the Bataka, Mr. Museveni, this is a political move for him?
Yes, it is politics, purely politics.
To what extent is he as the fountain of honor, like how he would meet you, how he would meet me, how he would meet these people? How different is it?
Do you know that we have a ministry in charge of culture?
Yes, we do.
So, have you had any minister meeting Bataka?
But he has met people from Busoga. You've not said
that
anything.
Is what I'm saying. For him, it is politics.
Why is Buganda so special? Why is it ringing a bell?
Buganda owns Kampala, the capital city, if that is what you want to understand.
Okay.
And therefore has a lot of influence on the country, politics. You can't, nobody can afford to ignore it. And nobody should ignore it. Okay. So, you want Uganda, you must be able to have support of Buganda. Yes? Bobby Wine, last elections. You saw what happened. And the two power centers that really gave him a lot of mileage were the church and Mengo.
Buganda.
Yes. And you saw that how much threat Bobi Wine became during those elections.
Okay.
It was not because of him as an individual, but the power centers that backed him. So because what if tomorrow they decided to back somebody else, and this time that person is likely to succeed against you. So you go and tackle the power centers. You deal with the power centers. And Museveni has usually used two approaches, coercion and compromise. So if he attempts to compromise you and it is not possible to compromise you, then he can employ coercion. Yes.
Then my question, where does this leave Buganda and the Kabaka now?
Buganda has now quite some...
Because it looks like it's divided. Not all of the Bataka were there. Some did not even go to Mr. Museveni's meeting.
I don't think it is divided. It is not divided. But you see, we have, and this problem is evident in each sector, in each segment of our population. People today have become very greedy.
Yeah.
They want free things. You work less, but you want more than what you've worked for. So when an opportunity presents itself for these free things, there are so many people that will come and really forget their original goals. So they are not divided per se. Ideologically, they are not divided. They believe in the same thing. But because of that weakness, I have my children that they want to send in a good school. So I need some money, I need this, I need that. I need a business for my wife.
The question of integrity as people, you no longer have it
anymore. I don't see it as integrity. I don't. It's just a weakness that has taken over this country.
Okay.
And the president takes advantage of that.
Okay. Okay. 3 minutes to the top of the hour of 8. Let's go for
No,
a short
you have
commercial
only
break.
talked with him the whole segment.
I'm coming with you, sir.
You forgot I was here.
That's why I didn't want to just... I wanted to give you time. Let me go for the break. When I come back, Honorable Awich is going to be here and he's going to give us his side of this particular issue. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. We're still watching the Hotline Show. This is Digitalk TV. Send in some of your comments, some of the messages that you have. We are at the Alternative Uganda on Facebook, at Digitalk TV on Facebook, on Twitter, at the Alternative UGA. Then you can also look us up on Twitter, still at Digitalk TV. On YouTube, the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV. I'll be reading some of your messages. Please keep them coming through. When we come back, I'll start with Honorable Awich on that particular point. And of course, we also have the budget that will be handled in the next hour of the show.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi, welcome to the Political Dice.
Empichi ebyobufuzi.
It's controversial,
Purely political,
well researched,
accurate and global.
Oyagala bya parliament oba council.
Yes, State House oba ghetto.
Ani ayugayuga ku ground.
Ani gwe babuze.
Okimanyi nga Dr. Kiza Besigye aleese amaanyi.
Olwo fadda bafutsoli abateeseemu obuvaazi.
Oba yo DP eri kuki?
Olwo jeema.
Bano ba MKCG bo baddawa.
Abo bafuna CDF baamala tebabanja. Olwo baba anti bange bali kuki?
Abo bo akina kulabisa simanyanga posturing tebabiri mbali mu structure building. Naye ate ono ye.
Ani oyo oba?
Yali kuki?
Oyo tumuleketa gamba mpanyiga mawu.
Ebe ndabena birindira nokuda Political Dice ku the Alternative Dig Talk nange Teddy Tenja ewamune
Farida Bikobere
buli wa Sunday
esawa 2.
Hi, Rogers. Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally. Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome back from that short commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. We are into the second and final hour of this show. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. I'm still with Charles Kazooba, who is the Executive Director for Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. And of course, none other than Honorable Major Retired Awich Pollar. He is from the National Resistance Movement, and of course, he's the Director for External Affairs there. Sir, as we went for the break, we were still talking about the divisions and some controversies that are in Buganda following the meeting, the second meeting of Mr. Museveni with some of the clan leaders. My question to you, sir, what is wrong with the head of state to meet a few leaders from a particular kingdom? Is this really bad? Does this fuel the divisions that people are trying to insinuate?
You see, when I asked for the definition of Bataka leaders, and I got it, the matter is so simple. The matter is so simple. As a president, he can choose to reach out to the people through the line ministries, but there's no prohibition on the president reaching out to the people directly. Especially when he has assessed that there could be information not reaching down, he can reach the people. Two, there are a lot of service provisions where some of these leaders can help, government service provisions that these people can help to mobilize to access it.
Yes, sir.
Interventions are out there, but people are not accessing. Further is that these leaders hold the people in cohesion. You will know that in some parts of the country, the clan leaders kind of run a bylaw in their clan system to keep it together.
Yes, that's true.
Birth, marriage, and death is run by them.
Yes.
The birth of a child, and that is why in many communities, when you meet a brother or a clan member, you ask him, how are our children?
Yes.
Children are taken like for the clan.
Yes.
So they wield a lot of power from celebration of birth, celebration of marriages, and death, burial. So you can see the considerable power they wield. Now,
yes, sir.
It is not the first time that President Museveni meets clan leaders. In Acholi, for example, maybe 10, 15 years ago, Acholi have their chief, their paramount chief.
Yeah.
notwithstanding that, and he has good relationship with Museveni, Museveni still met Acholi leaders. To date, I can tell you for a fact that each clan leader in Acholi has been built a house. Each clan leader has been supported by building a house. Yes. Because the government knows that these people really do things which ordinarily government should do. They sort out clan conflicts. Yes. They bring harmony to the community. They even urge clan members to send children to school. They urge clan members to take children for vaccination, for immunization. They really take control of their clan. And it is right and proper that government reaches out. So the Acholi clan leaders, each has been built a house. Langis are there under what they call the Wonyachi, who is the overall. But the clan leaders are there. I am one of them, a clan leader. And my clan is the biggest clan, nearly filling or took a district, and part of it spills to Agago and Moroto, or a Leptong district. I'm a clan leader, undisputed clan leader. Undisputed here I mean you find in a clan where there's splitter clan leader, there's quarrel, others even go to court, or the election is disputed. So when I say I'm an undisputed clan leader, I mean I'm a clan leader without a rival leadership. So this is why President Museveni reaches out to this. I am also quite sure that while President Museveni reaches out to the clan leaders, he is doing it in consultation with the Kabaka. It must be knowing that the Kabaka must be knowing is meeting these people, or the Prime Minister knows that the President meeting these people, for the reason that these leaders hold the society together. Let me tell you, there are many people who are doing work that government ought to ordinarily do. Yeah. For example, private education, private schools. If private schools was to close, would government hold all these students in government schools? So these are people who are doing their private things, but you really see that they're doing things which ideally should have been an obligation of the state. Yes. So if there's a way the government can reach out to these private actors, it's right and fitting. Okay. It's like meeting private school owners and say, I'm meeting you, I'm even helping you with some funds. Because ideally education is a right, but he's doing it, although he's doing it at a fee. So the clan leaders hold the community together. They have the they really handle, like in our society, birth is a clan matter. They even marry you a woman and urge you to produce. So when a newborn is born, it is a clan matter.
But Ugandans have a belief that, for example, you're saying the best of reasons, but Ugandans' idea is that Mr. Museveni is creating a rift in these particular, because these are subjects of the Kabaka. And of course, Mr. Museveni has suffered what you may call a heavy blow in Buganda politically. And he's trying to recover this, but by breaking up these particular subjects. To what extent do you think about that?
You see, this is what the society is. I have always told people that I can look at society in two ways. One, there are people who look at it in a half-empty glass. If you give somebody a glass of water and it is a halfway, and you ask my brother, what is this glass?
You say it's half full.
Is it a half full or half empty? He will choose to say it is a half empty. Why? Because his mind is so paranoid to negativity. He will ignore the full one. The glass is a half empty. Two, Lucky Dube says in his song, I've got Jah, that if you keep telling people about yourself, no. If you keep telling people what you don't know, they will hate you. If you tell them what you don't know, they'll hate you. Should you tell them about yourself that you know very well, they'll say you are boasting.
You're being proud.
If you tell them about somebody else that you are gossiping, now what do you do? So in other words, even if President Museveni acts in good faith, you won't stop those individuals who will say otherwise. But I'm telling you that he has acted before in Acholi, he has dealt with clan leaders in Lango, and everywhere else. And I also know that for a fact that dealing with clan leaders in Buganda is not an isolation.
Yes.
For the reason that the clans wield power. The clans are doing what government should do. Clan can even help people to urge their people to go to Paris development model.
Okay.
It can help people to go tell them, you people, government has brought this intervention. Go for it.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Let me move into the next topic, and that is the Uganda budget. As we speak, the budget is standing at... no, because of time, I'm not going to let you clarify. So let's go to the main topic of discussion today. Because literally everything has been clear.
It is clear.
So we are going to talk about the budget. As we're speaking today, our budget is at 72 trillion. That is something we did not imagine a few months from now, that our budget is growing. And according to President Museveni, this particular budget is going to be growing every after a year. We have to grow our particular budget. And after 5 years, we can see steady progress and development at the end of the day. So Mr. Museveni tabled this particular budget for the year the financial year July 2024 to May 2025. And various legislators were in attendance when he was talking about these main issues. And of the 72 trillion, 32 trillion will be raised domestically. That means that's the money that you and me and all agencies here are going to gather for themselves. Then in this particular budget, we have debt repayment, all the money that is going to be going to paying the debts that we owe as a country. As we speak, we are at 97.3 trillion. That's a lot of money that we owe as a people. But 34 trillion is going to go to debt repayment. So that is almost half of this particular budget going to debt repayment. But also we have 9 trillion, and this is going to be for the security. That means the police, UPDF, and all other security agencies for your own security. That's a total of 9 trillion. Then we have 10 trillion. This will be going to health, education, water, and sanitation and hygiene. As a country, 10 trillion shillings will be allocated there. Then next will be roads and railways. That is 4.9 trillion shillings. Then we are also going to have 2.6 trillion for wealth empowerment. So the parish development model that he has been talking about and Emyoga and all those empowerment schemes will be receiving a total of 2.6 trillion. Then 982 billion will be for electricity and energy. Then 146 billion will be for emergency and contingency funds. Now, the government is envisioning that they're going to be getting this money first through taxes, and some taxes have been introduced, especially for domestic revenue. We have 1,000 shillings tax that is for powdered beer. We have 8,000 shillings per litre on wine. So the people who enjoy such expensive drinks will be paying that particular money per litre. Then there is a lot of money that is going in other particular areas, but that is just a summation, a vision of how our financial year for 2024-2025 is going to be. And remember, as we speak today, we don't have a lot of foreign funding coming in because of some of the sanctions we have and some of the laws that we passed as a country. So with all this controversy, we are seeing that the budget is on. Now my question to you, and I'm going to start with you, Honorable Awich, if you don't mind.
You start with me.
You wanted to rebound? But I'm always starting with you.
Yeah,
I prefer to start with you because you tabled this thing as government.
Let him enjoy. I've already tabled. I've already tabled it. Let him
first
respond.
Explain it to us.
I've already tabled it.
I want to first listen from you, sir. Where are we getting this money? We have been struggling to get the 52.7 trillion that we were operating on last year. We had an emergency influx because the original budget was 58 trillion. In the last week, the budget rose from 58 trillion to 72 trillion. At a time when your Ugandans are grappling with a lot of debts, a lot of problems, economic challenges, where are we getting this money before we talk about where it's going?
But where we are getting it has been said by the Minister of Finance, by the President, it has been repeated here and there. First of all, before I even go to where we are getting it from, is that we are proud that we are talking of a budget at a time when we are no longer enjoying the kind of budget support we used to have.
Exactly.
In the budget that we used to have, you would find like 10 names of government mentioned. This and this will be done by Denmark. This and this will be done by Norwegian. This and this will be done by that. This and this, now you can see that names of countries are not visible.
Yes, sir.
So, it is one step towards sovereignty, that we are sovereign. And the other thing is that we have issues with World Bank. We don't see a foreseeable future of World Bank funding. And the World Bank funding was for big infrastructure, these big roads. But when I came here, I passed Rubaga from Northern Bypass. I crossed up to Mengo, and from Mengo detoured a bit and went like I'm going to Masakana Tete side. Then I crossed from Rubaga Hospital coming down. But you can see that we're having big infrastructural projects. And this used only to be with World Bank and whatever.
I think that road you're talking about, Northern Bypass, was funded by World Bank.
Not Northern Bypass, the one coming from Northern Bypass. So, but we shall continue many of that.
Okay.
So you can see that we are doing this. So we are nearing sovereignty in terms of funding our budget. Now, about where it is coming from, one of them you already said, through taxation. We expect to raise a big chunk of it from taxation. The other
on that, aren't you milking a cow that you're not feeding enough? The cow looks like it's very malnourished, very, very ugly, looking bad, but you're milking it more. Don't you think you're milking it as a cow?
Which one is the cow?
The people of Uganda.
So who told you it is miserable? Are you miserable?
Very, sir. Very miserable. I can also ask Ugandans here to share.
Is that shining girl miserable? That shining girl. Anyway, the thing is, you are talking of that ideal Ugandan. We pay taxes in all ways, every day. Sometimes we make mistake and we forget that it is tax collectors who are taxpayers. For example, MTN. MTN, in my opinion, is just a tax collector, apart from the company tax levied for company. But the rest of the airtime you buy, the data that we use, MTN simply collects from us and hands over to government. So sometimes when you talk of big taxpayers, should actually be big tax collectors, because whatever they pay is from the people. So we pay tax every day. You wake up in the morning, you switch on water for bathing, it is tax. You eat a piece of bread that you bought yesterday, there's tax. The sugar that you're using is tax. You put fuel in your car, it is tax. So we're all taxpayers. And therefore, now to say that we're milking those the skinny cows is in other words, to ask what do you get in return for your tax. What you get in return for your tax is the stable country. I have really told you before that there are countries where even areas are closed because of, schools are closed because of insecurity.
Yes.
In Kenya, for example, schools were closed. Then a child went online viral crying for school, and that child had to meet President Ruto. You don't find that in Uganda. That is your tax.
Yeah.
That we may be talking about the quality of the school, but from Kotidu to Kisoro, you have stability where schools are ongoing. From Arua to Tororo, everything. So that is the tax. Then the little that you're seeing, the roads, the infrastructure, the schools and all this, that is still tax. So I know literally when you said you are milking the weak cow, in other words, you are politely asking, what do we get in terms of the tax?
But these things
what
are
you
very
get
beautiful
is this good.
theoretically.
But it is happening. We are not in insecurity. Is that theory
Let
we are
me ask
peaceful?
you something.
Is it theory that we are peaceful? Or is it theory that a child in Kenya cried and went viral?
So, but
or is it theory that some part of...
The absence of what does
I'm
not
just
mean
mentioning
that
one.
peace.
I'm just mentioning one aspect.
Because there are many peace. When you talk about peace, there is financial peace. Do I have financial peace as a Ugandan?
I'm mentioning one aspect of peace. I have not said there's peace everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Or in all aspects. I'm just saying that. So I'm being polite to say, when you say you are milking the cow and already whatever cow, I am saying you are politely, I'm trying to translate your question to say, what do taxpayers get? And I'm saying taxpayers get all this in terms of the security of the country, the stability of the country, the peacefulness that you see here, that you can walk from here to wherever you want. And then the basic, we're talking of the Paris development model, those interventions. We're talking of roads that you have seen roads are there really. So that is what we get. So taxation. The other is to borrow. A government, Uganda is not going anywhere. Even if it borrows today, it will pay. So, and I would like to tell you that no government, no government is a sweeping statement. Very few governments have surplus budget without borrowing.
Even the United States has loans.
United States is the most indebted, followed by Japan.
That's very true. Even
followed by Japan. They have huge debts. Only that United States don't seem to be like in debt because they borrow from inside. And that is what we are doing. Even if it doesn't mean borrowing. Sometimes I know for an incident, my friend will tell me that we borrowed from a Kenya money lender. But that is it. That is his business. Why wouldn't we borrow from a Kenya money lender than borrowing from World Bank or a money lender from German or Sweden, and it takes the profit? At least a Kenyan here can eat the profit. So, in other words, I am trying to tell you the second other aspect of source of the funding is borrowing. And then, of course, we have things like the government bond. We can generate this money locally. So, in other words, by the time government commits here, there's already a vision of where the money will come from.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Now, my other concern is, when you talk about development, you look at aspects that you've pointed out, right? There are good roads. You can even add on the skyscrapers that are rocketing every day. We can talk about people who are buying new cars. But there is also an aspect that Ugandans don't have the money as individuals. They are not empowered as a people. These things are there, but when you start to look at their income, look at their bank statements, they don't have the money, sir. So how are we planning to empower these people? Because according to your budget for this financial year, or our budget as a country, only 2 trillion has been allocated to wealth empowerment. 2 trillion shillings. How can a man leave poverty when this is the only money that has been allocated to them? Throwing these millions to these circles, can that really empower?
You know, we are venturing into a science that we can't discuss it here.
Yes, sir.
The economic science. Because remember, the theme of this budget is to monetize. You are not going to monetize when people don't have the money, to bring people into a money economy. In other words, why I'm calling it a science is that the linkage between these other things which are done, how it brings money to your pocket, to my pocket, is a science. And even if we brought an economist here to explain, it will take a long time. But the design of the economic science is such that what is done is not to give you money directly, but all these interventions, including security, there's a way in that science that gives you
thrive.
Money. That gives you money. And that's why we're saying we are bringing the economists to monetize the economy, not to have hand-to-mouth eating. So the science is that big that this discussion that we have between 7 to 9, you cannot do it. But the thing is, the design of the economic system is a science that it will bring money to you. Okay. Forget about the intervention that is direct. That is just one of the minute. Okay. So it's a science. Okay. But also I want to add this, yes, sir, that you see, to assess the good economy, it is more from the presence of goods and services rather than what is in the pocket. For example, if we have sugar, yes, in the economy, you have never at any one time found that people have failed to consume the sugar. That either sugar has been poured in the ocean, or even the price has dropped drastically, that like the sugar producers are giving away. No. Yeah. So if you judge from the fact that the goods and services are there, And we have not had, except for the time when maize prices dropped. And this was because maize was targeting outside.
Yeah.
Okay? Maize prices dropped. People who had maize could not sell the maize because they are targeting outside. But if we think of a self-sustaining economy, if you assess the economy from the availability of goods and services, whether you talk of clinic, private as it is,
and expensive,
that I knock my leg, I can walk over and get a medical service, and sugar. So you see that the economy is well. Remember, there was a time I told my colleagues here that goods were not there.
Yes, yeah.
So if goods have been there and we have not heard of goods, people failing to buy and being poured, or even a sharp price, it is supply and demand. The fact that the prices even go up now means that people can afford. Because supply and demand meets, if people were not buying, it would come down. That is the science of economics.
Okay, I've given Honorable Awich a couple of minutes because I wanted him to exhaust those particular views. And I'm going to come to you, Charles. And I'm bringing this element of a middle-income country. Mr. Museveni says we are a middle-income country. In fact, according to the statistics for this year, we have surpassed the mark, because the mark for you to become a middle-income country, I think, on average, every individual should be getting $1,036. That's around 4 million Uganda shillings. So hypothetically, Mr. Museveni says we are there, even more. I saw, I think, $1,114. And that shows that we are even crouching up to enter the upper middle-income countries. So are we there yet, sir? And how does it reflect in your pocket as a last man?
Me, I really focus on the rhetoric of these people. They have too many words that convince an ordinary individual that things are better. My focus is always the people.
Okay.
And that's why I prefer to call myself a vox populi, Latin words meaning a voice of the people. Why? Because I interact with the people down. Not these others. Me, I go down.
To the last man on ground.
I can tell you for a fact that where I stay, most of the women there are saying they will not accept their NIN numbers to be extracted again by any government official. Why? Because of these programs, these welfare programs. They keep recording them over and over again. There's no money to see. No money for parish involvement model, no emyoga. Instead, their records
are taken.
In my parish, I've tried to find out who got money for parish involvement model. I don't think there are even a dozen people that you can see.
But parish development model has empowered many people in
and
rural communities.
People who are benefiting.
No. I want to first cut you there.
Me,
I know a lady from
I'm telling you
Agago.
where I am.
Yes. But and where you are does not define the whole country, because that narrative of these things are not empowering them.
What has been reported.
No, it's not reporting. I know a person.
But you are also reporting.
But I know a person.
No, I'm telling
you.
I know a lady.
I
know a lady in Agago district who has developed off the money of parish development model. Yes. Yes, we can. I talked to her face to face. So that's what I'm telling you.
Start with?
She invested.
What business?
It's farming. She invested in farming. She has her farm. It's okay. It is doing. I cannot go in details when it comes to that.
You see,
but that's the reality.
There is a confusion.
So this urban notion
there are people
that this money does not empower them.
Who already have been working, and they use this as top up, not to start. He's telling you the focus is to get people, the huge chunk that is not in the money economy, and bring that chunk in the money economy. Not people who are already working. Now, the beneficiaries of these programs, most of them are working. Most of them are working.
But that wouldn't
Now,
that be
the
ideal?
people who actually don't have access to credit don't get it. They don't.
Why?
Now, that can't be my problem.
They do.
It is the problem of your government.
They do.
I've told you where I come from. Women have said they will not accept their NIN numbers to be used again. Because NRM people come, record, they take the records. They only hear that money came. Money never reaches.
What I've heard that the money reaches, but it's given out from NRM offices. That is one thing I had in Nansana. But you can continue, sir.
Now, I wanted to look at this budget based on 4 things. The budget vis-a-vis economy of this country.
Yes, sir.
Number 1, corruption.
What was your question to him?
The budget, what does he think of the budget for this
Number
financial
2,
year?
survival of NRM. Number 3, he has said that Amolo is negative.
You are not answering the question. I'm
3,
surprised you forgot your own question.
Number 3, the reduced funding from development partners. Number 4, the oil money. Now, when you look at much of what is said in the budget, and you also attempt to study corruption within the system,
yes,
you realize that government is borrowing what is going to be stolen. Do you get me?
I get what you're saying.
NRM government goes to borrow money that will be stolen.
That's how you're choosing to see it, though.
Have you heard Honorable Betty Kamya, the IGG? She has quoted some statistics that about 10 trillion is stolen. But also there are other statistics which indicate that about 20 trillion is stolen. How much is being borrowed domestically?
We're going to
It's about 20 trillion.
Yes.
So what is being borrowed is what is stolen.
Okay.
Now, are you going forward? Of course not. Actually, if I were the president of this country, I would just stop borrowing so that we evaluate these loans and grants. Do they mean anything for this country?
The expressway has
because
been built
it
on
is
those
also
loans.
possible that actually the money you are collecting, if you become frugal at spending, you could actually realize what you are already doing by borrowing.
So it would be enough, that's what I'm trying to
Exactly.
mean, if we are decent.
Yes. I think that is something that we can interrogate, that we don't need to borrow. Cut off this extravagant public expenditure. Be frugal in what you are doing.
But
so that there is value for money.
So practically you're saying
what is being borrowed is what is stolen. So just cut off the borrowing.
It's like you're saying you're not going to sleep because you fear to dream. You need the loan.
I'm saying that we have a mentality that we can't survive without borrowing.
It's because we need the loans.
That is what you think. But I've given you a practical example that there is a statistic which says 20 trillion annually is stolen. The budget tells you domestically we are borrowing how much? About 19 trillion? So if we are stealing 20 trillion and borrowing 19, why don't we stop borrowing?
Maybe this year will be different.
Now, that is done.
But I want you to link the question I asked about the middle income status that we
You
have.
cannot
as a
go there
people.
when you have these issues. You can't. You can't.
You see, it's like this. It's like when we're in school, somebody does his revision on transatlantic trade. Now the examiner asks trans-Saharan. Then he comes to the exams. He said the question answer. He said if you had asked transatlantic, suppose he chooses that we shall come for that topic tomorrow, but he wants you to answer this one. Now you want to abandon his question and answer yours. He's telling you tomorrow we shall come for that. Now you have asked transatlantic. You said no, I will answer trans-Saharan.
No,
I think
it's part of the question.
This is how we are going to proceed.
Which is part of the question also.
Interfering with my submission.
And I also, because why?
The point is, he's never patient. But if you were patient enough,
you are going to.
You're going to answer transatlantic. Then you come to trans-Saharan later.
You would understand my line of argument.
Yes, I get what you're saying.
There is nothing positive that is said there that can be realized. And I'm giving you my arguments. Why? I have told you corruption.
Which is true. And we all accept that.
I have told you the focus now is on NRM survival. Nothing more, nothing less. That is why you point at these welfare programs that may not realize the results that they are talking about. That is very much possible. Because none of them does research on what is happening.
The reality.
I know of somebody who has even diverted some of the money to go and buy land. Unofficial.
What money do you mean?
From their programs. Now, when you look at the statistics, they say we've created this number of jobs. If we did a scientific study, is it possible that we can determine what they are saying?
Then, in fact, to back up that, Mr. Museveni says we are a middle-income country, which means every Ugandan is getting 4 million. But Bank of Uganda is telling you that not more than 60% people get not more than 200,000. 60% of Ugandans get 200,000 per month, not more than 200,000.
Matthew, what you're not
that's like $50.
What you're not understanding on these statistics.
So I'm trying to make sense of them.
Individuals can contribute to the statistics of this country. And 49 point something million may not be part of that statistic. The 10 can give a rosy picture of a country that is rotting. So the statistics can be very misleading unless you go to the ground. A few months ago, I traveled, went to Kasese. I went through Mubende like this.
Fort Portrait.
Now, I went observing to see what people were doing. And most on the roadside, they had laid their maize to dry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, when you go towards the Toro region, the tea industry, the same applies to Ankole and the Chigezi. People have literally lost their livelihood.
That's true.
Government is not even intervening. I complained, and they were saying that the Prime Minister had initiated something. Today, those people can't send their children to school. Now, some had even diverted and switched to maize growing. It is around that time that maize lost
value.
So the frustration you're talking about, that I'm speaking of, has led some people to acquire numerous loans. So a Ugandan is heavily indebted.
And also, a statistic by Bank of Uganda confirmed that 70% of Ugandans survive on loans.
And those are the people, Major Awich is saying, have arrived in a middle income.
It's him who said
It's not
not
Major
me.
Awich, it's Mr. President.
Yeah,
It's Mr.
you're not
Museveni.
even coordinating.
It's
You're
Mr.
not coordinating
Museveni.
yourself.
Museveni is his chairman.
It is him who said.
You understand? So the issue is not the statistics, because the statistics can be misleading. But what is Museveni's hope? The president thinks that this oil money could actually become a miracle.
Which is, to some extent, true.
Now, of course, we've seen the challenges so far. There are several activists who have been funded by foreign people to distract that industry. So it can be a miracle, it might not be a miracle. Now, me as Charles, I can't have my hope there. Why? Because like I've told you, that our system of management is rotten. So whatever small thing that might be good can be turned into bad because of the mismanagement.
Maybe lastly, let me ask you about the loans that we are having. 97 trillion, and of course, almost half of this budget is going to loan repayment. Do you think we are managing the loan? Because Matiaka Saija, the Minister for Finance, says this loan is actually very, very manageable.
I've told you, if today I woke up and I'm president of this country, I would stop borrowing immediately. And I would tell my technocrats and politicians to look for a way of how this country can move forward without borrowing. We don't need this money. If what we are borrowing is what you are stealing, why should we borrow?
Good question. Let me come to you, Honorable Awich. This man paints a gloomy picture of Uganda's economy, which he calls real. And to some extent, there's information that can back up some of the things he talks about. Don't you think that we are just lying to ourselves when we put these projections on paper, go to Kololo and talk about these things, yet practically, the wananchi is not empowered, as you like to call them?
Well, it is that painting of that gloomy image, as you call it, that actually was making me think of procedural aspect than the substantive. The procedure of our discussion, and maybe not only in this TV, but others.
Yeah.
I know procedurally, and it is wrong. I know procedurally, there's a former member of parliament I've met before, even here. He comes for a talk in total disregard of the topic. In other words, in his mind, he has already what he's going to say. Even if you're going to talk about a cat, for him he has what he's going to talk about, how bad Museveni is, how bad the economy is. And that is why such an honorable member will not answer your question. Because you will ask a question, it will enter here and come this way. Why? Because and even if he leaves this TV, he will go to and talk the same place there as if it was recorded here, word by word. So I find that procedural aspect misleading, because if we are talking really in a sober manner, and I will mention Bataka, for goodness sake, we should even, the young guy is 20, 25, Baganda, he may not even know Bataka. In that kind of debate, we will not even define for viewers what a Mutaka or a Bataka is. Why? Because you come with a mind of this bad Museveni, this bad Museveni. So even a mere question of defining what a Mutaka is, you want. To me, proceed with that debate won't take us far. Anyway, it's so disorganizing. For example, now, if I may make some comment, you said that you talked to some woman in Agago who is a beneficiary and making good use of this.
Yes.
My colleague says, no, that one is not helping at all. Now, Paris Development Model, 100 million per Paris, isn't it? Even if you were to pick those of influence in the parish, if somebody gets 100, I mean 1 million each, those are how many people in a parish?
Wouldn't you have finished all the so-called big important people there? And you, even if the influential people in the parish were 30, at least 70 ordinary people would get this year, and remember it is next year. So who is 1 million per person for farming, and 1 million in Agago is enough. You are buying seeds for maize. You are going to make people dig in the opening the ground. Then they will help you to plant, and then weeding. Surely this 1 million is enough. Contrary to saying it must have been somebody who already had. It is enough to buy seed, it's enough to dig, it is enough to weed, and it is enough to harvest. Clean. Now, even if you say it is only the influential people to get 100 million in the parish, if 100 influential people, then you have covered the whole parish. Maybe the entire parish are influential. Simple. Now, my colleague again says that we should stop borrowing. I don't know how it would work, because this borrowing is not borrowed on a general purpose. You say an item is said, this item is for this. This item is for this. So you are borrowing for this. Now, if you say you are not borrowing, therefore, this particular item that you have scheduled for funding, you see the presumption he has is that money is in a basket. You are borrowing and just throwing in the basket. Okay? So, since you are borrowing and throwing in the basket and will be stolen, then he's saying, let's not borrow, so that the little that is in the basket is what we use. Well. It is not like that. The money that is borrowed is always for specific item. Unless you are saying, I want to make roads in Rubaga, and I will borrow money for the roads in Rubaga. And therefore, since I don't want to borrow, then the roads in Rubaga I don't make. It is not like it is in one full basket, you borrow and throw anyhow, and then people steal, then there's a balance.
The part of the money that is stolen, because he has given you statistic that 20 trillion is stolen. According to IGG, it's 10 trillion that is stolen. That is what? It's even more than 10% of the budget.
So in other words, you leave the line item that I want to do road in Rubaga, road in Kamwenge, road in this, because it will be stolen. Leave those roads. Because the money is borrowed for specific items.
Let me help
More it is buried for...
You see, Major, which is NRM government, will go and borrow for 100 roads. You understand? They borrow. We are going to do this, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. And they steal money for 50 roads. That particular financial year. This is a hypothetical.
Indeed. Indeed, it is hypothetical.
Now they
Indeed.
Because of what I told you, the 20 trillion that is stolen. They steal money for 50 roads. You get it? Why don't you focus on utilizing your own resources and you do 10 roads?
Okay.
What did you lose?
You can answer that.
The choice is yours. The choice is yours. And that is why those who are managing it do it this way. Now, when they choose to do it the way we are doing it, and a mischief occurs, then we deal with the mischief as it is.
Okay.
That is why you hear arrest of MPs. That's why you hear arrest of MPs.
His own chairman, President Museveni, has publicly said it, that the bureaucrats who go out there to borrow purposely because they are going to steal from that money. And this is what I'm saying.
Andy, but that's the
My
question.
argument is,
That's the question
why
I asked
do you
you.
still borrow if what you are borrowing is what you are stealing?
But you need the money. That's the end of it. That's why I asked you that, will you fear to sleep because you fear
Let
to
me
dream?
tell you, Burundi, there's a time Burundi was under sanctions for quite some years. And they were not getting money from anywhere. Didn't they survive?
They did.
So until we understand what exactly we want,
okay,
and the value for the money that we have, for the resources that we have, the little resources, That is when we can appreciate.
Let's have him conclude. Honorable Awich, please conclude on your submission so that I can read a couple of messages here.
My conclusion is that the economy as it is, I started by judging it from the availability of goods and services. And you don't even need to go to the far distant to know that at one time there was no goods and services. Then you move the next stage and say, if these goods and services are there, are people affording it? Then there you know indicators that shows that people are not affording. One of the indicators that shows that people are not affording is that the goods themselves will rot in shops, in markets, and we don't have that scenario.
Yet.
Two, one indicator is that prices will drop, like to a giveaway. The only thing I know that prices drop, yesterday I was in Ubara, are seasonal crops like matoke. Yesterday I bought bunches of matoke at 5,000. And this is not because of no demand, but these are crops which will rot or ripe if you want. That's why you have mangoes in the north, because it is a specific period. Therefore, it is now, the other next step is how do we preserve these items, like the mangoes, because they'll ripe the whole tree at once. Not a single branch will say, let me ripe this week, the other branch will ripe the next week.
Yes, sir.
They will ripe together.
Okay.
So, those are indicators that, do we have the goods? Yes. Are they rotting because people can't afford? No. Are the prices dropping so incredibly that a price of sugar has dropped to 1,000 because people can't afford? No. Okay. On the contrary, they are going up, meaning the supply and demand is meeting. So the economy is doing well. However, despite doing well, government is still committed to interventions. And that's why they're saying, put it in a way that brings people into the money. Okay. Government is not satisfied. It's doing more and more and more.
Major, thank you so much. I have Nacha Unerita. Thank you so much for always watching the show. Nasuna Tahia, you're also watching the show. Thank you so much. I'll read the message from Rita, which says, thanks for the show. Me, I'm not happy with NRM policies, especially taxation. I am afraid of where they will get the taxes to support the current budget. Which literally means let the poor cry for themselves. Very sad, but we have no choice. Then Nasuna Tahia says, we actually have a choice now and 2026. Total vote out the thieves. Maybe lastly, I'll read this message which says, we are following and enjoying the show. Thank you so much for watching. Not that I support abuse of the law, but if Mr. Museveni's forces could brutally arrest all VIPs, even Wangadia, at some point that these quiet people can also feel the abuse of human rights. When Kaihura was against bail and police bond, you have no idea how happy I was when Kaihura was also detained. To say people in office like Honorable Awich should know that things can change anytime, especially if they don't tame their appetite for taxpayers' money. Is there something you would like to add on or comment on what she has submitted?
Yes. These welfare programs, they are ideological. So I don't want Major Awich to mislead the population and make them think that they are going to be better off.
Yes.
There are socialist incentives.
Yes, sir.
Like I told you, that President Museveni's approach is usually two-way coercion and compromise. So
yeah.
These incentives are part of the compromise program. But that raises a very pertinent issue about taxes. I've always argued that why can't startups be freed from the obligation of taxation for at least 5 years?
The investors get that tax exemption.
Because when you look at the statistics, they are very worrying. there are very few businesses that will survive after 5 years. And it is because of
1 year.
Yes,
Not
because
even
of
5.
taxation.
There is not many
Now,
Ugandan
remember, most
innovations
of these
celebrate their
startups
first birthday.
are by young people.
Exactly.
And most of them are even educated. So if your government cannot provide capital, but somehow these people end up with something to do to start up. Now, in form of support, why don't you waive taxation for at least 5 years?
Okay, as you conclude.
So that somebody is able to get
Right.
off.
Okay.
Now, my appeal to NRM, of course, is now to begin on a radical journey of overhauling the entire system. Because if you don't, I think Ugandans will. They will, like you've had one of the commentators say, that they will vote you out. It is time that you go back to your drawing board, in your boardrooms, look at how you can overhaul the system, because it does not favor most Ugandans.
Okay, thank you so much. Honorable Awich, your parting shots and maybe any message you have towards the remarks that were submitted.
The remarks to commentators is that it's good it is good that you are watching, but one thing I know as a matter of fact is that with the NRM revolutionary methods of work, where you think you are going to state issues clearly and what you think is right, it's difficult to win sentimental support. And you know that it's very easy for somebody to be invited from one radio station, one TV to the next. If you just start now talking and bashing and abusing Museveni, the next day you'll be invited. But it's it is very difficult. It is very difficult for you to politely put government position and you remain stable. Anybody who will start jumping up today and start abusing Museveni and government, he'll be invited on KFM, NBS, and the rest. So it doesn't worry me, because I will keep on articulating slowly what I think is right. Now, if I don't have information on a matter, I will stay over it. I will answer it in the next session. But it's very easy to talk at the other side. Let anybody on the street start. He will be invited to all the radio stations.
But it's very difficult to defend your government.
But the truth will prevail. No, we have election in 2026. Eventually, the sentimentalists speak, but the people who are feeling it will speak. And we know through a ballot. Let's not
talk about the elections, because
we know through a ballot.
If we start the ballot now, Honorable Awich,
if it is that, why do we lose in one particular area and win in another? If it is not a fair election, if we are rigging, why wouldn't we rig in Mitiana, in Mubende, and everywhere? Why do we choose to rig in one area? It is a free and fair election. If it was riggable, we would not have lost our vice president. Or even wouldn't win by 58%, would rig to make it 80. No, don't be deceived that there's rigging.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's exactly 9 p.m. We come to the end of this particular discussion. My name is Edgar Matthew Karahanga. This gentleman is Honorable Pollar, Awich from the National Resistance Movement. He calls it the mighty NRM. And he's a gentleman who I want to thank you for always appearing here. Not many of your colleagues are this consistent. And of course, thank you so much, Charles, for coming through. It's always an honor to have you gentlemen, and I honor you in your particular offices. As I've told you, Luede Lillian was on a camera, and of course, Mukosa Arnold, Anthony, and Ali are the gentlemen in production. I'll see you tomorrow at exactly 8 a.m. The Mighty Drive returns on your tele. My name is Edgar. Good night. God bless you, and God bless this country called Uganda.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.